The following video was taken from a chapter of Jude Dupère-Duville's science fiction novel entitled The Snapdragon Code, now available on Amazon. Please watch and enjoy. The ride into school from Ossipee took them about 40 minutes. During the trip, Bee and Evey could not help but feel anxious for Adam on his first day. Both sat quietly wondering whether he would like the school and the other students he was about to meet. When they got there, Evey and Bee walked him up to the admissions building where Ryan Fairhurst greeted them with a reassuring smile. Then Ryan explained that he and Adam would be off to the assembly hall to meet the staff and the other freshman students.
I'll take good care of Adam this week. Today's mostly orientation. We're going to be playing hoops for an hour at the end of the day, so if you want to come by at 3:30 and watch, you're certainly welcome.
This whole episode has been quite a journey for us, hasn't it? I never really thought this would all come together for Adam. I'm so happy it did. It's like a big weight off of my shoulders.
What a beautiful campus, though. Isn't it impressive?
If we can make the trip here back and forth for the next 2 years, then maybe Adam can drive himself in until he graduates. That's what I'm hoping for.
Later that day, a bit of a surprise met the two ladies on their return trip to pick Adam up. Evey parked her car in the parking lot nearest the sports courts. The outdoor temperature was still in the lower 80s, which was not unusual for late summer in New Hampshire. It was a perfect September afternoon. A small group of what appeared to be visiting family members and friends had gathered in the bleachers facing the basketball court. As Evey and Bee made their way towards the shaded part of the seating area, Evey spotted a familiar figure standing nearby, surrounded by a few of the school's apparent notables.
Ladies, so nice to see both of you again so soon. I texted Adam earlier today, and he mentioned he and some other students would be playing on the court this afternoon. So, I decided to stop over and watch the game before leaving for the city. I guess I wanted to be certain my favorite investment at this school had made it to school and was enjoying himself. He assured me he's had an awesome day in his words. So I'm happy for him. I'm afraid I have to take off in a few minutes, but I'm glad we met up before my departure.
Adam was so busy playing ball that he still had not noticed that his aunt and grandmother were there.
I just want to say once again that Bee and I cannot thank you enough for what you've done for Adam.
You certainly do not have to thank me, Evey. There is no other boy who deserves this more than Adam, and that's all that needs to be said. I should be back here in a couple of weeks, and I hope to see you all again when I return.
A few minutes after his departure, the sound of Stan's helicopter can be heard taking off and flying overhead.
Not unexpectedly, Adam talked non-stop all the way home about what had transpired during the day. I liked almost everyone I met today, including my teachers.
Does that mean there are some you don't like?
Well, I think I just have to get to know some of them better. I'm reserving judgment, put it that way. The classrooms are really nice and well-equipped. You'll have to come and see the science building again. It has everything, and I think I'm going to have fun in my math and physics classes.
Were there some pretty girls in your class?
Yeah, there's one really pretty one. I haven't talked to her yet. I don't want her to get any ideas. Did you see that Stan came by to watch me play? I couldn't believe it. I was happy about that, until I heard the coach ask one of the teachers there, "Is that the Rothmann protege?" He said it in kind of a mean way, so I didn't know whether I should be proud or embarrassed. What do you think?
After a few seconds of silence, Evey says, "Oh, I don't think he meant anything bad by it. Maybe there's a little jealousy there, that's all. Keep in mind that Stan's an important person. The coach probably wishes he knew Stan as well as you do."
During the next couple of weeks, things got a little easier for Adam and also a little harder for Bee and Evey. Evey would drive Adam into school and then drive back home, roughly an hour and 15 minutes round trip each morning. Then Bee would pick him up around 4 in the afternoon, taking the same amount of time from her day, and so supper was not ready until after 6 p.m. Of course, both of them were happy Adam was going to that school and therefore more than willing to make the sacrifice. But that's what it was, a sacrifice. The only thing that worried Evey about the commute was her having to drive it during snowstorms. In that part of the country in the winter, it snowed often, sometimes twice a week. What would they do this winter, she wondered. But then, she told herself, they would just have to take each day as it came. Eventually, one of those days came up, sooner than either expected. Bee somehow twisted her ankle coming up the porch stairs while bringing in groceries and broke it. As a result, Evey had to change her work schedule so she could start her shifts at 6 p.m. rather than noon. That would give her time to pick Adam up and bring him home and then go to work. She knew her boss was not pleased about it, especially during the leaf peeping season, which was a big-time tourist draw in October. However, they would just have to understand. The only good thing about Bee's handicap was that it was her left ankle, and so, hopefully, Evey would lose only 2 weekends of tips from the lodge.
Evey, what did Mr. McKenna say when you told him you wouldn't be able to make your regular shift times for a while?
Well, I don't think he was happy, but sometimes things like this happen. It was an accident. You certainly didn't want this to happen. We'll adjust, however, and for a while, our evening meals won't taste as good if I make them. That's for sure.
I've made things harder on both of you. I'm sorry, Evey, and only 1 month into his classes at Webster's. We will get through this, Bee. You know that. My food might not be as good, but my appetizers are great.
Stan had been listening to their supper conversation via the Smart app and realizes this was another opportunity for him to help and, at the same time, make Evey more comfortable with him. How to do it without making Evey suspicious? That will require some thought. So, Stan decides to wait a couple of weeks before interceding. Evey will be more apt to agree to staying at Pine Lake Manor after she has been inconvenienced for a while. I'll concoct a story where, once again, she'll feel as though she's doing me a favor and not the other way around. Stan was right, of course. After 2 weeks of driving Adam to and from school, in addition to her work schedule at the restaurant, Evey was plain beat. According to the doctor, it would be at least another 6 weeks before Bee could resume driving. When you add in the other household chores, as well as helping Bee with the little things she needed, it was becoming difficult to say the least. Then came the phone call from Stan, just as she had arrived back from dropping Adam off at school.
Evey, this is Stan Rothmann. How are you and Adam doing? Glad to hear that. I've got a bit of a situation happening here at Pine Lake at the moment, and I could so use your help if you would be available. I just learned that the couple I hired to take care of my place will be on an extended leave for at least a month. Apparently the housekeeper's mother, Agnes, is not doing well. A cancer diagnosis, unfortunately. So she and her husband are going to stay with Agnes for a while. I don't know for how long exactly. Is there any chance at all, Evey, that you could stay at Pine Lake Manor until I find out whether this is going to be a temporary or a permanent situation? I don't want to leave my home unoccupied, especially at night. You know how I feel about that. The maintenance man and the horse trainer are there during the day, so that's not a problem. However, there'll be no one there at night, and I'm just not comfortable with that. If you could stay, at least until they return or I hire new help, it would be a godsend.
I do want to help you, Stan, but I'm dealing with a bit of a situation here myself. What's happened? Well, Bee fell and broke her ankle, and she's kind of out of commission for the month or so. They had to operate and insert a pin, so she won't be able to drive for a while. Luckily, it was her left foot, so it shouldn't prevent her from driving for more than 4 to 6 weeks. Right now, though, I've been bringing Adam back and forth to school each day, as well as taking care of everything else.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Listen, I've got an idea that might work for both of us. If the 3 of you were to come and stay at my place while Bee recuperates, it would make it much easier for you to get Adam back and forth to school each day. It's only a 10-minute drive to Webster's from here, and I believe it's also much closer to the restaurant you work at in town. I will give you the same compensation as I was paying the Faradays, and I'll feel a lot better knowing you're watching over the place. Would that work for you, Evey? Do we have a deal?
Possibly, but I'll have to speak to Bee first. Let me think about it, and I'll call you.
I'll be back at Pine Lake on Saturday. Why don't you, Bee and Adam, stop by for dinner around 6 p.m., and we can discuss it then. I'll be alone, so your company will be welcomed. Sorry, Stan, I'm working Saturday night. What about if we come by on Sunday at 11 in the morning? That will work for me. I'll look forward to seeing all of you. Goodbye.
I've handled this quite masterfully, Stan tells himself. Bee's injury has turned into a lucky situation for me. If I can get Evey to move in temporarily, I will eventually get her to stay permanently, as long as I don't push things too quickly. In the days of Patra, all I had to do was command her. Now I must convince her, but this doesn't anger me. I want Evey to come to me willingly. I've never had that in my life. This kind of world is certainly different. Will I have the patience it takes to live within its rules? He wonders, wistfully thinking about the many past lives he had spent with Patra as her lover. Then, she was only a computer-generated Vatar that he simply took for granted. Now, she was all he wanted, even though he had everything else. The phone on his office desk was ringing again. It was Seni for a change, and not someone from the WAC or the AFA or some other three-letter organization. I'm in a good mood today. I'll answer him, Stan decides.
Hello, Stan says, knowing it would be some kind of lament about their secrets being uncovered. Stan, that black physicist, Junior, you know who I mean. Well, he's getting too much publicity in the science community these days. After heaving a sigh of ennui regarding the topic itself, Stan asks, "What now?" Seni already angry at Stan's lack of concern on this matter. Lets out a string of expletives in reference to scientists in general. Then he says, "They're looking into the embedded error-correcting codes and its relation to entropy. Can you believe it? I'm telling you, Stan, they are just a few steps away from figuring this whole damn thing out," Seni says, while Stan can hear him sucking on his Cuban cigar, like it was a lollipop. Seni? Come on, man, they're not that close. I've been watching their progress, and look, in some areas, they're still grasping at straws. Hell, recently they've been trying to model reality by cutting and pasting two anti-de Sitter, saddle-shaped spaces and gluing them together along their rims. Right now they are just guessing. Can't you see that? Stan says, sounding somewhat impatient. Yes, they're guessing, but they're starting to guess right. Anti-de Sitter space with conformal field theory duality works exactly like robust error-correcting codes. Damn it, Stan, that's how our holographic reality is woven together with damned entanglement hooks. They're onto us, Stan. I tell you, they are onto us. Seni says in a desperate attempt to convey the urgency of the situation once again. Don't underestimate them, Stan. They're looking at the boundary. They are beginning to understand its purpose, Stan. The projection operators and the Hamiltonian are leading them in the right directions. Stan is not having any of it. Yes, I know where they're at, but the crazy thing is, they're still looking for gravitons. They still don't understand gravity. They're actually tying themselves up into knots. Seni, how could they possibly imagine this might be a holographic world when people are still going to church? Believe me, we have nothing to worry about, so get off the stick, Stan assures him. Remember one thing, and it's the most important thing. Just about all of humanity has now received a dose of the new genetic code, programmed to lower their IQs. You keep forgetting that. This nano stuff is already assembling into new DNA code, changing their mental and physical makeup. Full devolution may take 1 or at the most 2 generations. It has already started, my friend. It is now in the works, creating our new world order of humanoids. Stan says, and then, for a moment, he thinks about Evey. She will need the antidote. Speaking about gene therapy, Stan, have you been watching the protests worldwide? I mean, they are getting serious. I never expected this kind of pushback from the people. Not everyone's buying into the story of why they need these genetic insertions that we're calling therapy. Instead, some of the videos out there on social media are claiming that it's the patents that prove this was all orchestrated. Somehow, we should have hidden the patent application histories on these proteins, Seni says while trying to analyze where they went wrong. How are you going to hide patent histories, Seni? It can't be done. Stan says once again, weary of this topic. Not deterred, Seni continues with, in addition, there's one doctor out there showing evidence that countries have been involved in an illegal price-fixing scheme with Big Pharma. Seni complains. Stan quickly replies, they have been, but who's listening to him? Look, the patent history alone is complicated enough to keep people from looking into this. Besides, we control the media and the media won't be talking about it. The only thing the masses care about is posting their lives on Facebook. That's about it. We control the courts, you know that. Any serious lawsuits will be decided in our favor. They pretty much have been up to now, haven't they? Stan reminds him. Yes, Stan, but what if the tide turns? Seni says. There will be no tide. The gene therapies will have already made humanity markedly apathetic. So stop worrying. Stan tells him, wondering what other matter Seni will be bringing up.
So, have you gotten anywhere with your little bitch? Seni asks, never thinking Stan might object to this characterization of Evey. It's at that very moment that Stan finally realizes his happiness depends on Evey and not Patra. Patra was immaterial, an avatar that ceased to exist whenever the game was over. Evey, on the other hand, was as real as anyone could be in this heathenistic world. Even if Evey had been one of the traitors who had refused to take his side, Stan didn't care. None of this was her fault, or even their fault, the ones who had betrayed him, and it certainly wasn't his fault. This earth-shaking revelation for Stan was, in fact, one of the lessons that God, or the governing order of design, had wanted him to learn from the beginning. Senny's insensitive comment had somehow hammered that point home. Evey was real, a fact Stan wanted to announce on a plane's tailing banner over a crowded beach on a hot summer's day.
Are you there, Stan? He could hear Senny asking. Yes, I'm here. Look, Senny, I would appreciate it very much if you would not refer to Evey that way. Anyway, I've got another call coming in. I'll call you back later, okay? Stan says, ending the call abruptly, while still holding on to the realization he had just come to. It was also an understanding that so far he may have been wrong about everything else. That thought gripped him like a strong arm. Unease spread across his mind, like the gut-wrenching fear response you get when standing at the edge of a cliff. He now felt a primal instinct to flee his thoughts, but stopped just before he was about to jump.
This moment reminded him of the panic attack he experienced at the conference. He needed a drink without delay. He kept some expensive bourbon in the cabinet for special guests. However, right now he needed it for himself, and he didn't bother with the chaser. He had sometimes wished he could go back, thousands of years or more, to the way things were before holographic worlds made dying obsolete. However, would that make him happy, now that he had learned so much from being here on Earth? For the first time, since his arrival on this planet, he had finally begun to see things differently. How could he change course now, without losing control of everything? He had promised to bring them home, not keep them in this purgatory.